Welcome back. We're gonna start a new game today. It's called Vagrus, the Riven Realms. In this game, you're essentially a caravan driver, and you and your band of people just go across the world. I'm not quite sure what the end game is, like how you actually win or like conclude the game. I do know that the world it's essentially like a wasteland because the gods got mad and destroyed it. And so there's like, bands of outlaws and undead and monsters everywhere. And you're just kind of trying to survive. There's a bunch of empires fighting and whatever else. There is an opening video that I'm going to play. Open up. I haven't actually watched it. I saw that it started and just skipped past it so we could watch it together, essentially. Yeah. Let's do this.
The River Realms, they call it. What a fine poetic name for something as rotten and twisted as our land has become. It was not always so. Long ago, the old empire, the noblest and most enduring society created by humankind, spanned almost the entire continent of Zerine, the cradle of man. But after several millennia of progress and incomparable achievements, inevitably, the empire began to fall into stagnation and decadence. Desperately holding on to their privileges and resisting change while trying to avert the collapse of the realm, the emperor and his theocracy took to measures that were worthy of true despots in cruelty. Subjugating weaker realms, enslaving whole nations, strip mining foreign resources.
That's totally not a Roman emperor.
War
or not
several
Roman
fronts.
soldiers, sorry.
Genocide. Eventually, the gods could no longer tolerate such horrors wrought in their name. Foretold by an abundance of divine omens, they descended upon the empire to right its wrongs. Thus, in a chain of dreadful events that became known as the Calamity, they annihilated the empire in a matter of days. The gods then finally saw what they had done in their anger and confusion. It is said that so much grief and shame filled them that they were broken and they left this reality, never to return.
Left the reality?
The continent and its inhabitants seemed dead, but at length survivors began to crawl out of their hiding holes and faced a land that no longer welcomed them. Arcane anomalies, the fallout of the Calamity, now riddled the continent, and people realized that they had to share their new home with changed and twisted
Well, there's
creatures.
like a ghoul on the bottom. Right.
Terrible beings entered through the cracks in the tapestry of reality, arose to rule over the natives. In time, these new powers rebuilt the fallen empire in their own image, and the River Realms, now godless and vengeful, reincarnated from the ashes. The inhabitants of the land, such as I, now eke out a living under the crushing rule of the new empire. The continent itself constantly resists our every attempt at building a cozy home for ourselves. As travel is dangerous, many ventures specialize in transferring cargo and passengers over bleak and deadly leagues of land. Others try to take everything of value from said travelers, or attempt to find buried treasures among the ruins of the old empire. The leaders of the endeavors are, some say, the bravest men and women of the River Realms. Such a leader is called a Vagrus.
And that's us. So yeah, really cool setting. So yeah, we're gonna start it up. Okay, select game mode. The choice cannot be altered later. Wasteland mode. This is the way Vagrus was intended to be played by the developers. The setting is cruel, harsh, unforgiving place. So and so the game will not pull any punches. Expect a steep difficulty curve. Little to no hand holding. Save often because you will probably run into dead ends and deaths from time to time. Or dissonance mode. The game mode is tailored more towards a narrative experience, combat management. Almost all other aspects of gameplay are less challenging. The result is a smoother difficulty at the cost of alignment with the setting, causing a certain dissonance. Oh, dissonance. Yeah, that makes sense. Achievements are turned off in this mode. Yeah, we do Wasteland. Intended route. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Ah, yes. A Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
Tell me your tale, old man. It'll at least help kill time, like Pilgrims of the Wasteland.
Wise you are, good master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, traveling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west.
Okay. Let's start it up.
This comitatus I speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. Irafrons, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrapheap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Okay, makes sense. Welcome to the Pilgrims of the Wasteland, a standalone story of Vagrus, the River Realms. It serves as an introduction to the setting and also as a tutorial to the game. Why didn't this tell me before I selected it? That's a bit weird, but whatever. It behooves you to read the tutorial text and follow the instructions to gain a better understanding of how the game works. The pin icon can be clicked in tutorial windows to show what the section is referring to via pointer. I guess it's a pointer icon. Although Vagrus is an open world game, due to Pilgrims of the Wasteland being a tutorial, it progresses along narrow guided path in the beginning and opens up only later, after the core mechanics have been introduced. You can access a hotkey list in the options where they can be altered too. Cool. On the campaign map, the Comitatus traveling company always occupies a node and moves between nodes through paths. So that's these, I assume, yeah. Moving along paths costs movement points indicated next to each path. Every in-game day, you have a number of movement points to spend before you need to camp. To move, click on a nearby node and select Move from the node radial menu. You can select a node that is farther away, then because of moving there will be calculated in the path highlighted. Okay. 6. Move. Okay. Fair enough. Most of the story is presented through interactive text called events. Events will let you make different choices at each step. Some choices can have a number of consequences, while others have various dependencies. Dependencies mean that you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite, skill, perks, characters, so on. To select a choice, click on it and use 1 to 9 to select the one you like. Navigate this event to an end. Okay. Having gone ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your Comatus, well, it's going to be used a lot, slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, hills smolder lazily in a perpetual twilight. Oh, you're right, Javek's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him. Your gaze lost in the distance where ash cloaks the horizon and a towering mountain to the south and west. You turn to your comms and note his supportive smile. You and Javek have been traveling the realm together for years now. There is no person in the world you trust more than him, except perhaps yourself. I know you feel that your hands are tied, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here. Please don't allow me to highlight. No. Okay. So time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot, you know it. There wasn't much of a choice, either this or returning my trading license and hanging myself. It has to work. We cannot fail, not like this. Thank you, but the last thing I need right now is a clumsy pep talk. One's probably the most. Or the best. Javek nods. True, but it's better than just giving up. The crew agrees too. That counts for something. No. Does, yes. Good to know that they still have faith in me as their Vagrus. Or perhaps they're just desperate as I am. It doesn't change a thing about our predicament, so should I care? No. They do have faith in you still, Javik says. It should not come to a surprise, since you have known and traveled with most of them for years and years. Some of founding members of the Comitats. I need to figure out how to pronounce it. You could trust with your life, but you've heard stories before with Vagrus who have been abandoned for less. Times being what they are, Javik trails off. With Imperials cracking down on us, independence more heavily than before, business is rough. Everyone knows, and they appreciate your efforts to keep us afloat. Our plan ought to give us another chance. The plan you talked your traveling companion into a few weeks ago, but with each step towards the western mountain, more and more of them started to have doubts, such as the way of the road, perhaps. When text in the event is highlighted pale blue, it means that you found a codex entry. Clicking this opens the codex and navigates you to the entry. Click on it. Okay. The plan involves a desperate attempt to squeezing a low selling price for metal bits out on an old contract of yours in the town of Scrap Heap. Stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin and bringing the cargo south around the Molten Tongue to Devon via Vernum and Ash. Okay, so let's write Scrap Heap. Codex is a collection of entries you find throughout your travels. Entries contain information about the world and its inhabitants. When you have unread entries, a crystal on the cover of the closed codex remains lit. or emanates a light, my brain. Entries are displayed in the list on the left. You can search entries and filter them by category using the bottom of the top buttons on the top. Unread entries are marked by a blue icon and appear on top, while already read entries have a gold icon. The text of the selected entry appears on the right. Information in the codex is supplementary. It's there for those who wish to learn more about Riven realms. You can close the codex now and continue your journey. You can open again by clicking on the book at the bottom right corner. Okay. Okay. Scrap Heap. Scrap Heap is a town state on the edge of Imperial territory, just north of the Molten Tongue and south of the Forest of Shadows. It has been known for its isolation, outlandish customs that stem from it, and the wealth of scrap metal they deal in. Scavenge from the ruins of the fallen kingdom of Devendarthar. That's a name. Okay. Description. In the smoldering shadows of the great mountains of the west, Scrap Heap rarely sees sunlight. Oh, interesting. As the skies are forever ashen and overcast, the air is scorched hot and dry as a desert. Earthquakes are common, their distant rumble a constant reminder of the regions of violent and volatile nature. Most of the time, Scrap Heap is engulfed in smoke and ash, and a constant reddish twilight is upon it from the nearby volcanoes. Inhabitants must wear scarves and masks to aid their breathing. Surrounded by a low wall, the town is indeed made of scrap and junk, mostly stone, with metal scraps, as well as leather and cloth awnings. A single tall tower stands high above the town on a hill, housing a beacon and aids scavenger teams in their return, called the Iron Tower. This fortress is home to the town's ruling court, led by its sovereign, a tyrant by tradition. Other mounds of old scrap and debris form hills around the inner town. They are warrens. And although they are less densely inhabited, a lot of Scrap Heap's poor are holed up in the shacks beneath these waste piles. History. Well after the calamity, people began flocking to the molten kingdom of Devendarthar, formerly the ancestral homeland of all dwarves on the continent. They sought to plunder all riches that remained there, especially the rare metal that is still in a relative abundance in the confines of that lost realm. Because Devendarthar is now extremely volcanic and volatile, the scavengers did not dare to dwell in it, and only in its close proximity. Thus the settlement of Scrap Heap was founded of necessity. The town is not under imperial jurisdiction because the emperor never considered its existence in the savage, barely inhabitable mountainside important. Instead, they simply let scavenger gangs and kometati, that can't be right, gather and sell the precious scrap metal and reclaim ore in one of the border towns closer to Scrap Heap. Still, some trade houses sometimes set up temporary compounds there, only to get robbed and driven out months later. Scrap Heap was taken over by the infamous Heap King, whose rule saw the rise of the Iron Tower and its protectors. Little more than a gang lord who organized the previous chaotic and warring work teams is into a hierarchy. The Heap King became a legendary renegade whose mockery of traditional feudal society shaped Scrap Heap into what it is today. Ah, interesting. Okay. I'm not going to do that for everyone. especially right now, because this isn't even our character. So there's a shortage of metal in Devon, and you know several buyers who would give a pretty price for their for your goods if you could only make it there before many others have a similar cargo with a similar cargo due. Such contracts are the boon of the long decades spent on the road. But even if Narbo, the villain, gave you an agreeable price in a scrap heap, the road is not without its perils. Sneaking through the gap between the dead forest and the molten tongue is inviting disaster. So it's not a path many Vargri would risk. And of course, if this fails, you are out of alternatives. Do you think Narbo will help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill. Javik wonders. One can only hope. I haven't seen him in years, but we always did good business. That said, you are not sure he would remember you, or if he is alive at all. If he is not willing, we must find a way to compel him. There's no telling what you would be capable of if it came to that. Or he has to help us out. He won't be able to pass up the opportunity to make us indebted to him. Even the thought of selling yourself out to such a way makes you feel dirty. No, we'll start from the one. You sure such sleazy people as Narbo would remember all the business they've ever done? I'm sure, sorry. Javik rubs his chin absent-mindedly. You've seen this expression of his too often not to realize he is using his sorceress talent to read your mind. Taking a peek. Or get out of my head, you know the rules. Taking a peek. Apologies. Javik rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is. It comes to me so naturally that sometimes I don't notice I'm doing it. Your thoughts were loud, Vagrus. I have to actually block them, you see. After joining your Comtatus 6 years ago, Javik proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he is also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energy. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there is his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Not a pretty sight, but a very effective deterrent. Yet, because he is not a trained sorcerer, at least not in the traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he's kept his abilities a secret for many years overall, but you can't keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of Comitatus. Especially not if you keep bursting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there's only a handful of your comms who put... See, that should be like comes, but that doesn't make any sense. Well, I don't know. Comes. Who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years. Certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he's less in control now, which suggests he is more on edge about this whole trip than he lets on. So we can either state. Apology accepted. You manage a faint smile. Let us return to the others and push on. Still a day's travel ahead of us. Or just make sure it doesn't happen again. You grumble. Nah. Both of you head west to join the column. You go back to the Comitatus. End.
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrap Heap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivandar Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
Tarry? Can I scroll the world? No, not really. Okay. Okay, we go to Scrap Heap. When Comitatus enters a settlement, you can select from a variety of options, such as each on a separate pane, revolving around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to initiate stories located in the settlement. This time, only the story pane is active. Follow the only available story. This reminds me a lot of Sunless Sea already. Yeah, I can't go to the other ones. Okay. Scrap Heap Town. At the foot of the ever-fuming mountains of fire lies Scrap Heap, the infamous town of scavengers. Debris and junk are piled into veritable hills, upon and around which the rickety homes of the Decrepit? Disrepit? Inhabitants stand precariously. Ash lingers everywhere, and the sun is almost always absent from the twilight. That's a weird way of spelling twilight. Skies. The dreaded iron tower rise. Wait, what do you mean it's dreaded? Rises above the town, and its master controls the trade of this forsaken realm's most precious commodity. Scrap metal pilfered from the ruins of the lost kingdom of Devendar Thar. Shady eyes and soot-covered faces watch from under ash-laden awnings. Life is cheaper than iron here, some say. Stories. Track down Narbo. Can he be convinced to help you out? You make your way to the Wraith's Stash, a notorious watering hole tuckered away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King, but not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Narbo and its little operation of honest merchants. Apparently, the knave is not only alive, but Apparently the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javik, you leave the Comitatus to the cares of Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone negotiating. Ash is flitting from the black sky, as you cross the street and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's Stash. You give him your sidearms quietly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce them. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger, and of course, they have no idea that Jevek is capable. What Jevek is capable of, should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Narbo, no one knows. One never knows. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back, the entrepreneur is capricious and manipulative man with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and lamps at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy faces turn toward you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. You can do... Okay. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large heap lizard on display. I guess that's that thing. Narbo is sitting at the back of the table, his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Okay. Do you walk away confidently over to Narbo, walk over to the bar? Let's walk to the bar. The bartender stifles a belch and nods his greeting. What can I do you for? The way he grabs an earthenware mug suggests that it would probably be best to order something. You glance at Javek briefly before paying for 2 rounds of a local mushroom brew called Ash Tongue. It is somewhat less loathsome than you imagined. Leaning over your drink, you quietly tell the barman that you are here to see Narbo. Are you now? He is doing calculations, and he don't like to be bothered when he's doing calculations. He indicates Narbo in the corner table with a nod. The entrepreneur is indeed busy poring over a stack of papers and fiddling with a calculus. Wait until he's done with his papers, at least you can finish your beer. Let's do that. You chat with the bartender while sipping your beer. Most of it is boring small talk, but when the conversation turns into a discussion of local prices, you notice Javek's stern expression and a small hand gesture he makes. This is a signal you two have been using for a long time now, indicating that he's gleaned something from the man's surface of thoughts. When minutes later the bartender goes to the back to check on the kitchen, Javek leans closer. Apparently, there's a supplier of meat and mushrooms that has a surplus on his hands and he wants to get rid of it quickly. You can't help but smile and nod. That would save you quite a lot of coin. Also, your friend Narbo seems to be having trouble with a package. In his mind, it is a constant frustration in connection to the Heap King. You nod to Javek and notice how the sleazy merchant has stopped fiddling with the calculus and is now looking at some papers listlessly. Okay, it is time. Walk over to Narbo's table. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Narbo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and a few missing teeth. Part of his face is covered in scars similar to those left by old burns. That, coupled with the withered and mutilated left arm that hangs limply at his side, is a clear indication of the taint. The merchant wears a leather gherkin studded with a small bronze and bone coins, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard, a Lilith, oh boy, man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather, moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the wall. Narbo's mouth falls open as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder, it has been 10 years. The mate, he blinks. I thought you croaked. People, What? Narbo waves his good hand around and looks at his bodyguard. Told tales of your demise. The man finishes the sentence for him as the merchant nods vehemently. That business with Karnak outpost in the storm, Narbo adds. You tell him that you were indeed at Karnak, when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. You add how many of your original comitatus died there, close friends, old traveling companions, but you walked away unscathed. That was years ago. Sheesh. That person, Irafons, looked after you with something fierce, eh? Narbo chuckles heartily, but I'm sure you ain't got to reminisce about good old times, eh? His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. Apologize to him for the unfortunate way you parted 10 years ago. Get down to business right away. You have no time to spare. Remind him that you do not like threats, especially... we'll apologize. As far as I can see, you never did anything against me, eh? Nargo shrugs with a weary smile. Of course, you could have sent someone to warn us. The bodyguard finishes the sentence. Back when Narbo and you parted ways, Averinum's collegium was hot on your trails. What in the world is that? It's a traditional imperial association, a kind of guild with its own rules, rights, and obligations. In the Fourth Age, oh boy, they have become little more than organized crime syndicates that run the underworld of imperial cities. Okay. They got offended by how you two outplayed them by smuggling in a shipment of exotic spices without their knowledge and selling it to a local nobleman's merchant house. You look at Narbo and tell him that there was no way of warning him or even knowing where he was after the chaos was unleashed following the heist in Avernum. That makes more sense. You had to get your crew out of there, as you did. So you did. The merchant fiddling thoughtfully with a stack of papers while listening to you. I appreciate you coming clean, even if this sorry business was so many years ago, he says after a long pause. The bodyguard becomes visibly less tense, but something tells me that ain't all you come for still. So what is it? You breathe in. Time to outline your proposal. Some choices have dependencies, meaning you can only pick a certain choice if you have the right prerequisite. Perks, companions, resources, journal entries, and so on. Some choices involve tests that can be failed or succeeded with different consequences. Perks, characters, resources should change the chance of success in tests. My brain. Test difficulty is represented by a number between 1 and 100 that you need to roll equal to or above. Okay, continue. You explained to Narbo how you want him to give you a discount on a shipment of metal scraps, which you can then would smuggle into Devon through contracts you have in the city's underworld. The profit on this shipment would be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Narbo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table, as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you've done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile. That sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it, he says as he shifts in his chair. And it's a great plan, except for the part where I give you a discount for your askins, and not much else. And I don't do that. Mate, that would be like, that would make me, an almoner. Almoner? The bodyguard adds discreetly. That word? Narbo looks up at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you. I, an almoner. See, I'm no almoner. you know you gotta do better than that. What you got for me? So we can tell him that you will be in his debt. He will make a tidy profit as it is, but you will offer him a favor, moderate chance of success. Do you actually tell me the odds? Increase the chance of succeeding in the test by 50%. 2 resourcefulness. What is that? Defense power. Okay, that's money. Cargo. Supplies. Okay. I don't know what that is. Can you actually tell me the exact percentage? No? Okay. Remind him that you two used to have a great team, make a great team, and this could rekindle that partnership. Very low chance. Reveal that you are in a bad spot and this is the last chance. Let him know that in exchange for his help, you can help him out with a problem he might have right now. Can I save? Oh, I can save. Okay. You cannot save. Okay. Never mind. Let's try this. I mean, worst case, we just retry, right? Fail. You rolled 38 out of 100, higher than test. Wait, what? You fail. You rolled 38, higher than the test difficulty value of 32. With a considerable pause, Narbo scratches his beard in thought, then turns to you again. Fair enough. We used to run together. I know you are capable, but just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. The moment you make that deal in Devon, you come back here and we share. I want quarter. No haggling then. You frown when you accept his proposal, but inside you are gleeful. You could not have hoped for a better result. In truth, a quarter of the price is not only doable, but would leave you with enough to keep paying your crew for several future jobs. It could be a new start. Narbro insists you give him an hour, then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you for the metal scraps by then. I expect you to return within 2 months, give or take. Failing that, you'll be hunted, have no doubt about that, and you know that I can mobilize half the bounty hunters in the realm. When you nod, Narbo motions to his man. You and Jevek stand and make ready to leave. Ravurier will take you to the back. We don't want to give people the idea they can come here and to beg for almonds now, do we? Almonds. You get what you came. You got what you came for. So you leave the Wraith stash through the back entrance and head back to the Comitatus. And okay. Okay. So now we can either walk to the tower, perhaps it's time to visit the Heap King, or scroll Scavenger Lane. There's always something to be had here. Annual saving is unavailable in the standalone story of Pilgrims of the Wasteland. The game saves your progress automatically each time you reach a checkpoint in this story, when leaving a settlement, and also at the start of every new in-game day. In the open world main campaign, manual saving is available except during combat and events. Okay, so we can't save it all. Okay, walk up to the tower then. Walking up to the... What's that? Oh, interesting. Walking up the great heap to the immense tower is a daunting task. Up on the hill, it is even more difficult to breathe than an ash-choked city at its feet. A hot wind blows from the south. Every step is slow torture. By the time you reach the gates of the tower, your chest is heaving, and you keep coughing up soot. Before you rise at the tower of the Heap King. Does this show? No. Yeah, okay, never mind. I was going to see if there was a photo of him, but no. The whole structure is cobbled together from scrap from the lower levels covered in metal sheets. A huge bonfire, yellow-white flame burns on its topmost level day and night, a beacon for the scavenging teams to follow home. Looking nigh impenetrable, the fortress has only one entrance. A small band of guards sneers malevolently at you as you approach. Better turn back if you have no business here, vagabond, the ranking gatekeeper says from under a mask attached to his bronze skull cap. You have nothing to say that would gain entry. A long walk down the hill waits. Ask them where you could acquire an invitation. Perhaps you could try licking my and see where it gets you, one of the guards says aloud. Your journal located on the bottom left is now active. Is your means to follow stories and tasks. Open your journal now by clicking on the book in the bottom left corner. Oh, this thing. Journal allows you to view your quest tasks and other related information. You can search for entries, search field, and filter them. Drop down filtered buttons on the top left. That's really cool. Entries are separated into objectives and qualities so that their respective panes. Objectives are your quests and ongoing stories. The text of a selected list appear on the right. These describe the quest or task and provide active objectives. Unread entries have a blue exclamation mark icon and appear on the top. While already read entries are marked by gold dots active. A green check mark completed or a red check mark across circle failed. Tasks are non-narrative missions and goals you can complete for rewards. There are several types like trade opportunities or mercenary work, but in Pilgrims of the Wasteland, you can only find passengers here. Passengers have to be taken to their destination where they will compensate you for your trouble. Be careful because sometimes passengers will leave if you take too long to get to their destination. Qualities can be statuses, gathered information, secrets, and so on. Unread entries have a blue exclamation mark and appear on top, while already read entries are marked by a gold circle icon. Close your journal after checking your objectives. Okay. So the shipment. You must save your comitatus by taking a large shipment of metal to their van. We found our contract. We need to buy stuff. Okay. Tasks. Wandering old man. Deliver the wandering old man to Ash. Coins 1. Bros. Oh no, not Bros. Lurig. Okay. Cheap supplies. Mysterious package. Okay. The rank guard does not laugh, but does nothing to reprimand his men either. My duty is to stop anyone without official business to enter, not to educate them where to get a pass, he says, and walked back to the others. Nothing will change their minds or walk down the hill. Market pane is now active. Navigate to the market pane by clicking on the scale icon. The market pane displays the available goods you can buy at the settlements market on the right and opens your cargo pane on the left. You buy goods from the market or sell your own goods from your cargo hold here. The maximum cargo space is 3,000 or 30 slots. Cannot be expanded further. When buying or selling, buy or sell one increment only by clicking on the buy or sell button next to the list goods. Holding shift and clicking the buy and sell buttons buys or sells a whole stack. Dragging, dropping the icon for buying or selling stacks of goods. Holding shift and clicking the icon opens a window where you can specify the quantity you wish to buy or sell. Hold shift and clicking the buy or sell buttons. Okay. Whole stack. Okay, where we need, what was it? Tasks. 24 metal goods and at least 800 supplies and awning equipment. We currently have 700. So I need to buy. Oh, I can just buy all of it. Shift click. Yeah. That gets me that. I can buy scrap metal. Items, beast lures. I'm sure we'll figure that one out. Equipment. Okay. So I guess, wait, 24 or 25? Is it 25? 24. Never mind. Okay. Oh, scrap metal's heavy. Equipment that you can attach to the comitatus is sold on some markets are found throughout your travels. They provide bonuses and upgrades. You can switch between the market of goods and equipment using the buttons of the list of items in market pane. Yeah. Awnings. Negative 20% consumption of workers and 10% of slaves. Linen awnings stretched over saddles and carts to block harmful weather effects and provide shade. At least one beast of burden. It's 8. Okay, well, we have the money. Equipment you own are in pool below the comitatus is illustration. In order to gain their bonuses, you need to equip them first by dragging and dropping them into an appropriate slot on the illustration. Equipment can only be placed in a slot that matches a type, except that equipment of any type can be placed into the miscellaneous slot. You can unequip equipment by dragging it back to the list. Yeah, that's fine. So that goes there. Items, the third type of cargo, do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. They are used and traded in certain events. You can switch panes in a settlement, and the active pane will open the corresponding pane of the comitatus management on the left. You can freely check the settlement. You can now freely check the settlement tabs. When you are done exploring, click on the exit arrow on the top right to leave Scrap Heap. Once you leave, you cannot come back to this place in Pilgrims of the Wasteland. So be sure to do everything you want to before venturing forth. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about for the items. Essential to smelting and slew of other resources. It's kind of expensive. Okay. How do I get the member? Let's scroll Scavengers Lane. You and Javik roam the dingy market called Scavengers Lane at the foot of the Great Heap, upon which the Tower of the Heap King is built. Ash-covered awnings and dirty stalls line the labyrinthine streets. stifling narrow alleys and tiny squares, adding to the general confusion. Sometimes it is difficult to tell a shop from a dilapidated home, and for a good reason. Most people who live here are also merchants to some extent. And even though the Heap King's militia is there to keep the peace, you can't help but notice all the shifty gazes from the deplorable types aimed at you. Oh, I could have bought the supplies here. I see. Find the merchant who's selling the cheap supplies. It's not very difficult to find the man with the cheap supplies. Javek remembers his face from the memories he saw in the innkeeper's mind. So it's only a matter of time until he recognizes the merchant. The man looks quizzically at you after you tell him you know of the surplus of dried mushrooms and meat slowly going bad on his hands, but he does not ask questions. And then you manage to haggle for half price. Buy the supplies, you will definitely need these. Okay. You and Javek roam the dingy streets. Yeah, okay. Take a look at the prices. Sure. Success. You rolled 55 of 100, equal to or below test difficulty score of 75. Yeah, we already did this. After spending an hour looking at wares, you realize there's nothing that you could fork out coins for. Of course, there's a lot of useful things, but you want to keep the rest of your purse intact should you run into difficulties on the road ahead. Also, there's a veritable army of cut purses working at the market. And though so far you have managed to outsmart them, you staying here would tempt fate too much. Or is there anything else you want to do here? You recall a little shop hidden in... Does it say the number? No quality. High. I wish I could see the actual percentage. 15%. You recall a little shop hidden in an alley. Its owner used to peddle dwarven curiosities. Perhaps it is still there. Success, you rolled 61 of 80. The small shop is still there at the end of the Serpentine Alley on the south side of the market district. Standing outside of it, you notice how it is in much worse shape than you remember. Inside the decrepit scrap shack is an equally unkept young fellow who hails you with a jolly smile. The shop looks empty. A short conversation reveals that the youngster is a son of the man who used to run this place. His father never came back from a forage into dwarven ruins a few months ago. Unfortunately, I don't have Dad's expertise on dwarves. Race known as Grey Dwarves, or by most people simply by dwarves, is a descendant of the dwarves of old, altered and made homeless by the calamity. Okay. Neither am I the adventurous sort, so by now I've sold all his remaining stock and I'm closing shop soon. Then I'm off and away from for good. This place for good. Go south, maybe to them Dragonlands, he said, scratching his beard. You talk a bit about dwarves' culture, his father's obsession with the forgotten technological wonders. You're about to say goodbye when he slaps his forehead. I still have something from here that a Vagrus, such as yourself, might be interested in. He fishes a small brass compass out of a pocket and hands it to you. It is a masterwork, no doubt, sporting runes and detailed etchings on the side. The fellow is willing to sell it to you for a token price. 183, essentially. Yeah, we can do that, I guess. You and Javik roam the okay, leave. How do I... No, that's not that. How do I look at my caravan? I'm gonna look, I guess here. Dwarven compass, 1 max movement. A wonder of the ancient world that points north. Okay. Cool. Okay. That's not that. Leave, I guess. Packed up, restocked on supplies, and with all your business here concluded, you finally make ready to leave the decrepit town of Scrap Heap behind in the morning. Second thought, you spend the night out inside a guarded compound, not for free though. What? Second thought, there are still things. No. +1 day, -1 Lee rig. Oh, interesting. Okay. You set out at dawn, ashes flitting from the sky, and the distant mountains rumble ominously in the morning twilight as your comitatus reaches the western gate of the town. You notice almost immediately that the militia at the gates is questioning and inspecting travelers along towards an inspection. Robed magistrate of the Heap King appears to coordinate the search effort, picking out people or even whole travel groups for inspection. As your comitatus draws near, it takes only a passing glance for him to check you and your crew before he motions to the guards to let you through. Pass under the gate and out into the broken wastelands. The comitatus is well on its way, and Scrap Heap is a mere dot on the horizon by the time Jarvik joins you at the front of the line. Just like I said, you made the right choice for this adventure. Talk of how you may have saved us all. And spreading like... Talk of how you may have saved us all is spreading like wildfire, he says, with a faint smile. Of course, we do have to make it alive to Devon with the cargo, but it's a good start, don't you think? There may be hope left. Agree, there may be hope left for the comitatus after all, and you know, it is in large part thanks to you and your abilities, not mine. Yeah. Javik smiles as he bows his head and thinks, not that I fully agree, but it's my pleasure to be of use. I'm sure the journey will be fine. It's not like we started this business yesterday. With that, you both go back to your duties and the constant monitoring of the horizon. If all goes well, you should reach the Wound in a few days, where you can turn south along the edge of the Molten Tongue and travel down to Avernum. The journey continues. +3 more. Yay. And your progress is saved at checkpoints. Whenever you leave a settlement, reach a story related checkpoint as well as the start of each in-game day. Your game is saved automatically, overwriting the previous autosaves. Manual saving is unavailable in the standalone story, Pilgrims of the Wasteland. In the open world campaign, you can save manually in the game menu, F10 or escape, except during combat events. You can load your save games from the load menu, F9, or from the main menu. Okay.
There they were, with a full cargo hold and filled with newfound hope. Yet, the road ahead still promised hardships and peril. I traveled with them southwards, expecting to reach more habitable lands beyond the Molten Tongue's river of lava.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there for today, and we'll pick it up next time. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye!